but I welcome you all to the club meeting, the Rotary Club of World Disability Advocacy. This is actually our annual meeting. I was kind of waiting for Anita to come in, but she's not here yet. And the reason I was waiting for Anita is one of the things we do at this meeting is that we announce the voting results from for the officers for Rotary year runs from July 1st until June 30th. And so they require that, or they suggest strongly that by the end of December, you have your officers in place for the following year. So that would be for July 1 of next year. So we, as a board, met to discuss the nominations for that, and the nominations were sent out to the club, and people voted on it. And if I can remember off the top of my head, because I was hoping that Anita will be here, but the officers for the following year, for starting on July 1, will be there'll be myself as president, and Anita as secretary, Anita Kevin, and Elkin Montoya as treasurer, Stephen Masha as the membership chair, Evan Zama as the communications chair, Danilo from Brazil, he's going to be the, tentatively, he's got a few things going on before he makes a final decision on that, but he's going to be the project chair. And Nilesh Singlet from India, who was here, is going to be the foundation. Who's here? Foundation chair. And those will be the officers starting on July 1st, 2023. Another important event that we have planned for today's meeting is we have 3 new members that will be inducted into the club today. And Diana is here to help us do that. Diana, for those who don't know, has been with this club from day one. She's one of the most instrumental people in forming this club for many reasons. And she's a past district governor of District 7910, which is in Massachusetts. It's an interesting club because our district is 7910 in Massachusetts, USA. And yet at this point, Diana, I think only 1 member is actually from that district. The rest are from around the world, which is really cool, which makes us a unique club, but I think a lot of e-clubs are similar to that, but maybe not quite as diverse as we are. And being diverse, we have 3 new prospective members, and that is Anne. Anne is from Kenya. We have John Claude. John Claude is currently living in the United States, but he's from John Claude would say Rwanda, and also Monique, who is from Uganda. So Diana, I'm going to turn this over to you. I can pin the 3 of them so that they're at the top of the screen. No, hold on, let me just do that. Pin, and then I'll go here and pin the other 2. Jean-Claude, I will pin you. And then one more, sorry. A little slow at this. And you are somewhere. There you are. I gotcha. Okay. And pin. Okay. Those are the three, Diana, and I will pin you also. Okay. Diana, it's all yours. And Diana, you're muted. I think I muted you by accident. That's me. I did it.
That's okay. That's fine. You can mute me as much as you want. You know, I have this tendency to talk a lot. You know, that's actually the prerogative of a past district governor. That's all they say. You know, be careful when you give the mic to a past district governor because it goes on and on. So I am so happy to see so many of you today and to meet new people that I haven't met before, Rotarians and non-Rotarians. And I'm actually thrilled to be conducting the ceremony of the most important moment of beginning any Rotary journey, and this is the induction. In fact, this is my most favorite thing to do in Rotary, apart from service. And today is even more exciting because we induct not only 1, 2, but 3 members. So to the new members, to Monique from Uganda with her sponsor Allison, to Anne from Kenya with her sponsor Stephen, and Jean-Claude from Rwanda with his sponsor Ken Masson. It is my privilege to introduce you as the newest members on behalf of the Rotary Club of World Disability Advocacy in Rotary District 7-9-10. When we join Rotary, we become a part of something much bigger than ourselves. Rotary is the first service club in the world, founded in 1905 by a lawyer in the name of Paul Harris in Chicago, who created an organization dedicated to encouraging and fostering the ideal of service. They started with a group of 4 businessmen who wanted a connection with other businesses in a new place. They just happened that 4 of them just moved to Chicago and started their businesses there. And those 4, this group of 4 grew into a worldwide organization of 1.4 million Rotarians today in more than 200 countries. Rotary is an organization of business and professional people pledged to uphold the highest ethical and moral standards. We are people of action with the responsibility to help, to network, to adapt, to transform, to innovate. We are people of passion for service. We live by our motto, service above self. I always like to point that out. If you think of it, we are the original social network. Why? Because when you talk to a Rotarian, when you connect online or shake a hand of a Rotarian, you are within reach of 1.4 million more Rotarians living by the values of the 4-way test and living up to the motto, service above self. This is the power of Rotary. Monique, Anne, and Jean-Claude, you have been chosen for membership in the Rotary Club of World Disability Advocacy because your fellow members believe you to be a leader in the community and advocate for the rights of people with disability. And also because you possess the qualities to champion the message and the principles of Rotary. You are now ambassadors of Rotary, carrying the ideals of service to all within your sphere of influence. Monique, Anne, and Jean-Claude, you are beginning a great adventure called Rotary in leadership, friendship, service to your community and to the world. By connecting the world, Rotary opens opportunity to serve, to change lives. Your club members and all members of the other 49 clubs in our district believe that you will change lives. All of us look forward to share the fellowship. We're looking forward for your leadership, your participation in many clubs projects that make your community, countries, and the world a better place to live. And as the Rotary International President, Jennifer Jones, with this year Rotary theme, Imagine Rotary, she reminds us and encourages us to imagine a world that deserves our best, where we get up each day knowing that we can make a difference. You don't imagine yesterday, you imagine tomorrow. Fellow Rotarians and guests, it is truly an honor and a privilege to present to you and to welcome to our family the newest Rotarians, Monique, Anne, and Jean-Claude. Congratulations.
Thank you, Diana. Much appreciated. Much appreciate everything you've done for us over the last couple of years. It's been a great journey, and it's still only just begun. And I'd like to talk to a little bit about with each person who's now a new member. You are all welcome. You're all Rotarians at this moment. I will send you some information on what the next steps would be on that. I've been in Rotary for like 35 years or something like that. I still remember my first day very much so. So it's something that you keep in mind for the rest of your life, this day, of becoming a Rotarian. I'm going to first talk with Anne. Anne, if you can unmute.
Thank you.
And it's a privilege to have an opportunity to talk with you. And can you tell us about yourself and your journey that's brought you here in disability advocacy?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ken. Thank you so much, members. First and foremost, I really want to appreciate the fact that you have found it fit to welcome us to this very credible club. I'm very happy for that very powerful induction from Diana. Thank you so much. I already feel like I am already a member. So, and Ken, thank you so much from the time that I requested to join. You have been with me, you have encouraged me, and I'm happy the day is finally here. So this evening, sorry, it is evening in Kenya. I wish to say that first and foremost, I am an educationist by profession. And besides that, I am also a mother of a deaf youth. So I want to say that for the last about 35 years, my world has actually been that of disability. And within the education sector, I have served in the government as an education officer, where I have been able to rise to the level of a director in charge of standards and quality for learners with disability and special needs. So I've actually been right in the midst of developing the standards for teaching, for curriculum implementation, and the policies in regards to funding, in regards to management of special schools, etc., etc. So I've really been right in the middle of this. And being in the government, sometimes, you know, you get confined into certain protocols. But now I've realized that where I am, I need to get out of that box, that cocoon of being right in the government where you are on the receiving end, and be out there and be the change maker, be a key player in terms of advocacy. We have done so many policies, a lot of standards. For example, in the schools, we do standards in regards to teacher-student ratio, where sometimes we have not been able to enforce some of these standards. So I believe now, being out here, I think I can be the major voice that can actually raise, can actually proactively participate and guide rather than being on the receiving end. So generally in Kenya, I want to say that I've participated quite a lot in developing the current policies, operational policies, the current standards in the area of special needs education and inclusive education, including now the current controversial competence-based curriculum, where we have come up with a differentiated curriculum for learners with disabilities. So that now we have come up with the 4 different categories of curriculum. That is the specialist curriculum. That is why we have introduced a Braille and a sign language as one of the core subjects in the curriculum. Although earlier on in the year between the year 2006 and 2010, we actually introduced sign language in Kenya as an examinable subject and as an alternative to Kiswahili, which is a national language. And this is because we realized that, and especially being a mother of a deaf child, I realized that it was going to be very difficult to introduce 3 different languages to a deaf child: Kiswahili, English, and the sign language. And you find that sign language, if you compare with the mother, the mother sign language, the Kenya, the official Kenya sign language, it was like we are introducing 4 different languages to a deaf child. So I was among the first people who advocated for that, so that instead of doing Kiswahili, we could have Kenya sign language as an alternative. And it worked quite well, because we removed the burden of introducing too many languages to the learner, the deaf learner, and confusing them. For example, it used to be so difficult to tell the deaf when does, let's say, a table, because if you sign the word like table in sign language, whether you are saying it in English or Kiswahili, the sign is the same. So there was a lot of confusion, and this used to contribute to poor performance for the deaf. So many other changes have come in. For example, we now have what we are calling the stage-based curriculum, whereby now our learners in Kenya who have multiple disabilities or severe disabilities are able to enter into education and move upwards according to how they acquire the education. So generally, I've been a key player within the education level, between the education ministry in terms of setting policy standards, etc., etc. And now I believe, and I want to get out of that cocoon, that box of the government, and come out now. And while I'm joining the Rotary Club now, one of my key roles is actually to get to venture more into youth engagement programs, because I've realized that in Kenya, yes, we have made a lot of milestones in as far as basic education is concerned, but most of our youth who complete basic education end up, going nowhere. That is the end of it, and they fizzle into the evolution. We don't know what they go to. They have no livelihoods, etc., etc. So as I'm joining the Rotary Club, I think, and I am convinced that I really want to make a difference in empowering our youth with disabilities into getting involved into secure livelihoods where they can take care of themselves rather than languish back into their homesteads with the little education that they have gained, with the skills that they have gained. They are not able to get involved in the development of their communities. Among many other issues that I'll be dealing with, I believe I'll be able to give my best. I'm looking forward to giving my best as a member of the club to serve and look at the future as opposed to looking at yesterday. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Anne. You bring to us so much in the area of education. You were a teacher, you were in the government position, you are a parent. Your knowledge in that levels and many other levels are going to be so important as we try to move forward on one of our projects, which is inclusive education. And your understanding, and we want to look at not only, we talk about, okay, there's lots of needs in inclusive education, but we want to look at also what is being done right. Because and we're looking at a global level, and so your background is tremendous for what we're doing. We're very glad to have you with us. And going in alphabetical order, I'm going to turn to John Claude at this point. John Claude, your story, not only what you're doing at this point, but your story from as being a child to where you are today is fascinating. Could you share that with us?
Thank you very much. Really happy, and I want to thank first for you, Kenny, for invitation and for being interested for my request to join Rotary Club. And thank you very much for Diana and for everyone, Rotarians, for welcome message. And it's really inspiring as let me start by a child who has grown in a refugee camp. I was born in the DRC, Republic Democratic of Congo. Recently, is the country which has the war even now in my region. And I was born there, and after 4 years, my family moved to Rwanda, which was hosting many refugee camps, many refugees from DRC who are Rwandan speaker, because we were kicking out in DRC because our ethnic group who was speaking Kinyarwanda, the same language is speaking in Rwandan. So I was growing there in the refugee camp. Then after getting chance for meeting some people who was, they moved me to school. I was having disability because also of lack of vaccination. Then I got polio of 2 legs. Then I had get chance for starting school. After starting school, I grew in Rwanda, and I moved to refugee camps because of some people who was supporting children with disabilities. They moved me to the center, and I grew up in the center for children with disabilities in Southern Province in Rwanda, where they care about people with disabilities. So that was my journey from childhood, from growing in refugee camp. Then I moved to a normal society of children and youth and disability children, where at the center was caring about me. I was getting medical assistance, getting devices, scratches, and I was using also wheelchair because of the medical treatment. Recently, Jean-Claude, I'm now a scientist, have master's degree in computer sciences, and where I have experience 6 years experience for working in different hospitals in Rwanda, where I worked as a ICT officers in a hospital. I was working for making sure that the infrastructure for ICT is going well, and where I was also nominated to become as the disability counselor advocacy in the district. Where I was counselor of the district of persons with disabilities. I have working almost 6 months because I leave that position, where I was moved to continue further educations in the United States for trainings. But recently, I'm reading organization which is called Uwezo. Uwezo is Swahili name, which means Uwezo means ability, where this organization is non-profit organization in Rwanda, working for children and youth with disabilities, for making advocacy for children and youth with disabilities, for living, independent living, and mobility assistance for technology for children with disabilities. This organization is now, I'm reading now, is really making impact for almost in 12 districts in Rwanda, in a 30 district Rwanda has. So we works for making sure that all the children with disabilities has great impact, has great access to education, and we advocate for the local leaders so that they can bring school, all the children with disabilities at school. This past summer, I have been engaged in Mandela Washington Fellowship, which is a program. The Mandela Washington Fellowship is a very competitive leadership program, offers annually 700 young African leaders in the US Department for fellowship. So I was, this last summer, I was engaging the Appalachian State University in North Carolina, where Mandela Washington Fellowship, I was awarded a leadership certificate. And in August, I was also being Mandela Washington Fellowship was also make me to be getting an internship in a personal development experience in Rotary Club Sunrise, New York, where I did online virtual that program. So I'm recently here in Iowa because I'm really happy to be joining the Rotary Club, because that was my dream in my country, in Rwanda, to join Rotary Club. Now recently I'm very happy to be in part of Rotary Club, because this Rotary Club, being member of Rotary Club, will be open me internationally engagement. As Diana said, it's really the beginning of for us to shake hands of a Rotarian. We open my network and getting access to my dreams of advocating for children and youth with disability through my organization in partnership with Rotary Club. And I believe that this friendship, to shake my hand with Kenny, was make me to open to network with others fellowship, which is really Rotarians. I'm happy to be Rotarian, and I'm really happy and very happy to join this group of Rotarian Club. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Jean-Claude. I remember reading your article that said when you were a child, your brother carried you to school every day. Is that true?
Yeah, I was really, because the school was too far, it was like almost 10 kilometers from home. And my brother was really, was taking me to carry me on the back so that I can go to school. But I was always become the first in class. I was, and that's why he was really encouraging me to take me to school. So because I had polio when I had 2 months after my birth, for lacking of vaccine, because of the area of we have born where there was a war, there was no access to medical, So that's why my brother was carrying me to back to school. Then he come back to take me. He was in secondary school. I was going to start primary school. So he carried me, and after class, he come back. He carried me back to home.
Wow. And so your family, John Clark is many interests, and one of his interests is in the refugees, and try to help particular refugees with disabilities. And so he's kind of taken on a little group that has a discussion group as to find out what the needs are. John Clark, what is the difference between a refugee camp and a refugee settlement?
Yeah, sometimes people, the country, because of the interest of the countries. Because I have been in a refugee camp in Rwanda, and then I grew up. I knew how because of the politics country, the politicians, countries, they can call it one each other. they can call it a settlement because of some profits. They can call it like refugees because some for profit. But the settlement is where people they arrive, then the government give them the space so that they can do a cultivate, they can having farm, they can do something, but still they are refugees. Still they are not in their country. But the refugees, sometimes they don't have that right for getting engaged in community by getting a cultivating, like having space, given space by the government so that they can continue their businesses, you know. That is the difference. But all of those, they feel like they are refugees because they always feel like refugees. But some refugees, when they arrive in the country, they can feel comfortable and they can continue their business. But some refugees, they don't want to keep staying in that country. They want back in their country, or they want to be hosted by international committee in different hosted country, like people who went in different Australia, United States, and Canada, somewhere else. And that's the difference, because settlements, people can continue having the space for continue their activities. And but the refugees at the camps, people, they don't have to build even the house. They live in the tents. They give them the tents, they offer them the tents. But settlements, the government can having them the right, they can build their own houses in the same place, but like the same houses. Then they do the culture, they do the business, something like that.
Okay, good. Yeah, well, your knowledge is going to be valuable. I know, and your findings with the other people you're talking to in the camps and the settlements is going to be valuable. And I know Rotary's done some things in the camps and the settlements, but probably there's lots more to do. And if we can encourage through your leadership, Rotary to get more involved and with refugees, that would be great.
Thank you very much, because I'm really happy for seeing also the others, youth in the refugee camp, or person with disabilities in general. In refugee camp, they have many challenges, for accessing to every services, accessing to everything. It's not easy, because the sanitation in a refugee camps or settlement is not really good. So people with disabilities, some crawling down. They really need like guidance. They really need assistance. They really need engagement for different ways, so that they can be independent. My vision is that to see persons with disabilities are independent where they live. That could be really nice for working with the group. We're starting already in a refugee camp in Uganda, especially. Also in Rwanda, there are many refugee camps, refugees who have the abilities. I think the funding may be really variable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John Claude. And that brings us to Monique. And Monique, from Uganda, you have such a wide-ranging background. You've done so many things, including you work with the refugees. And now you're working with children with disabilities. Monique, can you tell us about yourself?
Hello all, my name is Monique, like you heard. My name is Monique Rwaheru from Uganda. I am a stroke survivor. I succumbed to a disabling stroke about 6 years ago. I'm a teacher by profession, and my field of specialty is early childhood education. I'm very passionate at working with children, especially the early learners. And when I succumbed to my stroke and lost my speech for about 2 years, I was in a confusion what I was going to do with my life. Then I started a CBO, a community-based organization called the Champion Road Foundation. The name speaks for itself, because I believe for everybody to surmount a disability and the challenges that come with it, you have to be a champion. And that's why I named it the Champion Road Foundation. But prior my disability, prior my stroke and my life before, I had an interaction with Rotary, the Source of the Nile Ginger Club. And they had a project in partnership with the Fresna Club. I think Fresna is I don't know which state is it? I do not know now. But we went to the IDP camps in the northern Uganda, where there was a 20-year-old Lord's Resistance Army war, and we were building energy-saving stoves and making hay baskets for the women and the children to be able to cook. Because when you are in an IDP camp, you do not have firewood, you do not have access to the materials. So that's what with Rotary. It is really, like Diane says, it is about service, about self. Living in the camps for 8 months, doing some service with the children and the women that were in the IDP camps, the internal displaced camps, I realized that there's some things that we take for granted. Living in a space that is gullible to you in your bed, and these people are living in tents and makeshift grass thatch houses. It left an impression with me. And then when life went on, I got this stroke. Then I was like, what am I going to do? That's when I realized that then when I thought I was doing a service as a Loteract, I was learning a skill of helping others above myself. And that's when I started the Champion Root Foundation. In the Champion Root Foundation, our main goal is to eliminate the misconceptions about disability. Because I believe even as a disabled person, people have skills and potential to be a better person. I'm very much interested in research. I have been of recent past in connection with a doctor in the UK called Dr. Charlotte. And we're doing something about writing about the misconceptions about disability. I want to thank in a special way Dr. Laurish Alson. She sponsored my entry into the Rotary Club that I've joined in today. Alson, Dr. Alson, dear, thank you so much. I'm glad to be part of this club that believes that people with disabilities still have a potential and they can serve their people. All I can say about the disability world is that I think disability is a normal part of human diversity. It is only we need to embrace it embrace it well so that we can benefit from it. Many times people with disabilities are not given enough participation. And in participating in the environments they are in, then we'll be able to limit the misconceptions, we'll be able to limit the stigma, the discrimination. If these people are encouraged to participate in their lives, to participate in the environments they are in the school, in the playground, we'll get the best out of them. At the Rotary Club that I'm joining, I believe I bring skills because I was not disabled before. 6 years before today, I was an enabled woman. So what I know how to live as an able woman and now as a disabled woman. Disability comes with a lot of discrimination and the stigma and the marginalization, which sometimes makes people or persons feel less human. But if we embrace this disability and starting with the children, the early learners, will be able to get the potential of them and they'll be able to participate and get the best they can be in their life. I'm very interested in inclusive education because I was heading a school, a kindergarten for many years. I know early childhood, if you touch a child and trigger the right triggers, you get the best out of that child. There's an innate potential in everybody, and people with disabilities are the same, and they also enjoy the same things. So I'm so glad to be part of this group. It has been very nice interacting with Ken and interacting with Steve. Stephen, we met through COVID, we met through another group called the Son of from Sri Lanka. And then involving myself in charity work, involving myself in service makes me feel like I am still valuable. Although now that I have a limitation in my life, I have a paralyzed left side of my body. I have one non-functional hand. I do not know if it will heal or it won't, but even if it doesn't, that doesn't make me less a human being. I still can contribute to the life of others and the life of myself, giving all that I have acquired along the way. I love working with people. I'm a very social person and a very creative person. I'm even glad to be at the summit coming in January 24th. I'm glad to already training the children to present in a poem, a song. Those are some things that make me happy to see disabilities get the best of us. Okay, my dear, so nice meeting you. Now inviting to the Rotary Club and the Arson for paying my dues. I'm so to be part of this new model of leadership. It is a service model of leadership, and I think we are doing the right thing.
Thank you.
I'm very interested in working with people who are interested in research, especially with eliminating the misconceptions about disability, and eliminating the misconceptions about any impairment. I recently had to read something about airspace and something, and then I saw someone who was she was making clothes for women who go into space. And they said, oh, this is an inclusion of women with disability, women in airspace. So I said, if it is more inclusive, that is the better. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to be Stephen. And now, Cloud, given me a look. The people in the camps actually. So when you were talking about the settlement camps, I was like, wow, I live in a settlement camp where I live in Mbubuku irrigation scheme, which is a part of a settlement, which was previously for refugees, but these people settled in because part of my family is from Congo. And then, yeah, I'm so happy to be here. I believe I bring part of my ability into creation, into being happy and working with children. I'm glad to be here, yes.
Thank you, Monique. You have things in common with John Claude, so I'm sure you'll be sharing some stories with each other. And you're one of the people that inquired your disability in your life, and you're one of those folks that took that as a lesson and learned from it, and are using it as a strength at this point. And that in itself makes you a great teacher for people who have disabilities and don't have disabilities, because you've been on both sides and you understand both sides. So yeah, your addition to the club is extremely valuable. So we're very much glad to have you here. And is there anybody have any questions? I know we're getting to the end of the hour, but does anybody have any questions for these three folks?
Hello.
John?
Hello.
John?
Murungu. Senga.
Oh, hold on. John? I'm sorry.
Thank you. It's not so much a question. I would like to make an offer to the club. I work with, as you know, Ken, people around the whole world, both in Indian subcontinent, sub-Saharan Africa, the United States, Australia, everywhere. Not just in polio, but in all age groups and in all disabilities. If you want to use me as a resource to get any information or help, please, I put my email address into the chat at the beginning. Please send me messages and I'll see whatever I can do to help, and so that you can actually carry on and do the work. And to the 3 new members of the club from Wellingborough Hatton Rotary, I welcome you to the Rotary family. And I think that you have joined an excellent organization, and that you will have and be able to give a great deal to it and to the world in general. Many thanks.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. very much. Masenga, you have your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to make comments on the persons with disability living in camps. Like in Malawi, we have a camp whereby we have over 55,000 refugees. And I used to work there from 2014 up to around 2019 with the children with disabilities in the camp. But the main challenge now that we are having in Malawi is that these refugees are mainly from Congo, DRC region. We have some from Burundi. We have some from Rwanda. But there is a lot of ethnic rivalry in the camp that they make the camp not environmental friendly to work with them there. For example, just last week, there were explosions of grenades, and the government is trying to limit their movements now. And this will also limit our movement to the camp. So anyway, I wanted to say some of the people who are here are ex-militia people, even adults with disabilities there, maybe were soldiers and got injured. Sometimes they're not very friendly in the camp, except for those who are living outside the camp, we're able to interact with them. But they've made my work difficult to go and visit the refugee camp. That's what I wanted to comment.
Thank you, Masanga. It's it's a shame that all of us have to struggle so much, but there are good people like yourselves and other people in this room who are trying to counter all that. And those, I think, John, thank you, Masanga. I really think Masanga is an amazing disability advocate. We got to get you in the club one of these days, Masanga.
Thank you.
And John, probably anybody who wants to get in touch with John, best way to do it would be through me initially. And John and I will have a conversation about that afterwards. But I don't know if you missed the introduction of John that I had in the beginning, but he's a walking encyclopedia. And I always accuse him of having more than one brain because there's no way he can store all that information in one brain. So
Thank you.
Thank you all. Anybody have any other questions before we end this meeting? We are working on a number of projects, and one is inclusive education. There'll be more information coming up from that. Stephen is working on that. There is a project for Club Foot. We're working with one of our club members, Anne, who is not here today, but we're putting together a plan for her on a business plan and a marketing plan for her, and a number of other things we're working on for her. There are other things we're working on. We have a member working on a space fellowship, Rotary fellowship for people who are interested in space. We have another member, an Elish, who is still here, I'm not sure he is working on cerebral palsy fellowship for Rotary. I know, Maureen, you and Jagway, it would be great to talk to you again about working on our sports, a Rotary fellowship. I am working with another member a person who wants to become a member, probably will next month. And she's from California. She runs an organization that is working with people in Africa. Right now, she's focusing on Kenya, but her interest is helping folks, particularly parents, with cerebral palsy. And so she has a number of directions she's taking with that. One is she wants to work on a documentary, but she's also supporting groups work with cerebral palsy. So anybody who's interested in getting in touch with Michelle, please get in touch with me and I'll put you in touch with her. That's a lot of in touches there. So if there are no other questions, we've gone past the hour. Much appreciate you all. Welcome all your new Rotarians. Thank you, Diana, for so much. Do you have a comment to make? You turn your mic off. Are you?
Well, I just want to say once again, welcome to the club. It is a great club. Well, you might say that I'm biased because, as Ken said, I know the club since before it was chartered, but it is a great club first, and second, with all your backgrounds and passion for advocating for people with disabilities, I know that as people of action, as all Rotarians are, you will do great things. And please just communicate with each other, as Ken said, because again, going back to my remark about Rotary being the first social network, you cannot imagine how much it really is important, the fact that we are all in this organization with 1.4 million people around the world. And it takes one phone call, one text, one email to do the Rotary magic. And you'd always find someone, a Rotarian, that will respond to a question, to a need, or to do service with you together. So welcome. And I'm looking forward to working with you in the future for really imagining a world without wars, with peace, without polio, with people that are not poor, and with all of us being friends. Thank you.